Consider the lilies, how they grow. They toil not, they spin not. And yet I say unto you that Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. If then God so clothed the grass, which is today in the field and tomorrow is cast into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, O ye of little faith? And seek not ye what ye shall eat or what ye shall drink, neither be ye of doubtful mind.
This is our kingdom, a kingdom of righteousness. Praise the Lord. Praise ye the Lord.
For all these things do the nations of the world seek after, and your Father knoweth that ye have need of these things. But rather, seek ye the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell that ye have, and give alms. Provide yourselves bags which wax not old, a treasure in the heavens that faileth not, where no thief approacheth, neither moth corrupteth. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. To the kingdom of Israel!
Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh, Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh, Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh, Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh.
The election, an aristocracy, meaning rule of the best, a group or class considered superior to others, a government by the best men in the state, a governing body composed of the best men in the state, and that's the elect. We're about to have it all right? Psalms 37 and verse 11, and it reads, "But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace." That word for peace in the Hebrew is shalom, which goes into safety, soundness in body, meaning we're going to truly have rest, welfare, health, prosperity, peace, quiet, tranquility, contentment. So we're going to fully enjoy the planet Earth. We're going to rule and exist within the Lord's creation as we were created to do. I'm ready to rule the world, man. How about you?
Let the golden light of this sunset guide our hearts in peace.
How about you, man? Barakatah Yahweh Shah. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh Shah.
Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell that ye have, and give alms. Provide yourselves bags which wax not old, a treasure in the heavens that faileth not, where no thief approacheth, neither moth corrupteth. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
The ocean spirit dances today to abundance and joy and to eternal peace.
See, this is what we're hoping for. This is part of our hope. Not only that we are members of the elect, which fruits meet for repentance, like John the Baptist said, but from our lowest state, because we've been brought low, even though we have this knowledge, we have this truth. Remember what it said in Revelation. I know thy works in tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. Why are we rich? Because we're rich in faith. We have this knowledge. So our hope is at our last end, we're going to be increased. Okay? And if you ask me, the greatest riches right now is to be delivered by Yahweh Shai, is to get that new body that the Apostle Paul spoke about in 1 Corinthians 15th chapter, to get that, you know, get that new body where we'll never be sick, we'll be immortals, like it said in 1 Corinthians 15, to be delivered from the coming destruction, and to be a part of Yahweh's cabinet in the next kingdom. Okay, those are the real riches right now. That's what we want to get. Because if you get that, you got everything. I mean, you got everything. Okay, so our sights are set a lot higher than this present world. All right, as it is written, the fashion of this world shall pass away. We are individuals of vision, and the scripture said where an individual lacks vision, he perishes. Okay, so we can see the future. All right, and we hope that we're going to be part of it, beginning with the elect.
Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah.
All right. Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Makakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful they got there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds. In the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners who may have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Shai. All right, so coming with another, morning news and prophecy. It say promise. I meant to say prophet, but it's the spirit, because prophecies are, promises, of Yahweh Bashem Shai. It's promises of destruction and promises of deliverance and rewards. So prophecies and promises really are interchangeable, because the Lord, he's made a promise, of destruction. Matter of fact, let's get a precept on it. I just looked at that. That I put promise instead of prophecy, but that's, it's all in the spirit, So let's go here and let's get an example of two promises. All right, the spectrum of the promises of the scriptures, and then we'll get into some news, dealing with Esau and these heathens, their agenda to make the world automated, with AI, and also an update on what's going on, all right, between America and Iran. So let's get this first. Is the book of Jeremiah 49 and 13. All right, Jeremiah 49:13 said, "For I have sworn by myself." Hey, look up this word sworn. Look up this word sworn. Let's see what it gives us. All right, so this word sworn. All right, in the Hebrew, it's Shabbat. All right, Shabbat. Is a swear to take an oath, which is like what? A promise. To swear. All right, to adjure, to take an oath. All right. So sworn is like making a promise, as if repeating a declaration 7 times. So when you go into prophecy, it's the Lord, all right, making a promise, on what he's going to do. So when you go and finish Jeremiah 49:13, it said, "For I have sworn by myself, said the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Shai, that Basra shall become a desolation, a reproach, a waste, and a curse, and all the cities thereof shall be perpetual waste." Yeah, so the Lord has sworn by himself. He made a promise to himself that he's going to destroy America, man. He made a declaration and put his signature on it. He's already signed off on the destruction of America. We're just following the events leading up to the destruction. So this devil trying to automate the world with AI, so he can play the Most High, all right, and you got this war going on in the background, which eventually this war, okay, is going to overcome, okay, this new world order agenda. You see, this war is going to cancel out Esau's new world order agenda, and this gonna stand. The promise that the Lord made to himself that he's going to destroy the war, all right, already in motion, that's going to lead to this promise coming true. And then on the flip side, in the same book, Jeremiah, okay, I think it's 29 and 11. Might be 28 and 11. Let me see. Yep, 29 and 11. All right. It says, Jeremiah 29 and 11. It says, for I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. You see, and the expected end is for a remnant to be delivered, you know, from this destruction. Okay, to be changed. Okay, to come out those chariots and rule the earth. All right, in righteousness, man. You know, and peace is to be peace for Israel from here on out. Just as, you know, what Esau, Edom is doing to lead to his judgment, it's also leading to our reward, you know, where the Lord is going to fulfill all his promises, man, through prophecy. Okay, so let's go here. Let's go here to the book of Psalms, chapter 2. Okay, in verse 1. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 2, and verse 1. And it says, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? Okay, because what we're seeing is the heathen raging, which is to conspire, which we always go into it. The Hebrew word gosh, well, let's get it. You know, a repetition. All right, and we should all know about heart by now. He's been around. All right, so why do the heathen, okay, rage? Okay, if you go into this word rage, I'll say in the Hebrew was ragash. Okay, ragash, which means to be in tumult or commotion. Okay, to conspire or to plot. Okay, and these heathens are conspiring and plotting. You know, they have joined, you know, the upper echelon of these heathens have joined, okay, in this conspiracy with Esau, okay, with this new world order to try to automate the earth, okay, through AI, you know, to try to govern, you know, the masses with AI, you know, to create a permanent, you know, upper class and a permanent class of poverty. Okay, so the heathen, you know, the upper echelon, the governments, you know, these oligarchs of these different nations, they're fully on board, okay, with this new world order agenda. You see, so as you keep reading, it says, the kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us cut their bands asunder and cast their cords away from us. And when you get this in the NLT, okay, because this is what the upper echelon of these heathens, this is what they be speaking on in these you know, these summits, okay, you know, the different, you know, UN meetings, and, you know, G7 and G8, okay. So when you go to the NLT, all right, it said, let us break their chains, they cry, and free ourselves from slavery to the Most High. Because Esau has put in the minds of these heathens that he has a way, okay, to liberate, all right, humanity, you know, from the slavery of the Most High, that they can be blessed, but don't have to, you know, abide by, okay, the standard of the scriptures. They can be blessed without obeying a higher power, you know. So look, let's do away with this whole Israel concept. You know, the true people, let's keep them suppressed forever. Let's try to get rid of as many as possible, because Jacob trouble is going to be the devil really getting off on, you know, the tribes, man. You know, as Cain, you know, slew Abel, He was trying to get what? He was trying to root out the righteous seed. And even within, this technology, he's still trying to root out Israelites, man. There's the spirit of Cain that's on Esau. Okay? And in his mind, if he can get rid of Israelites, if he can change, people into, cyborgs and, machines, then he can do away, with prophecy, man. Because prophecy is linked to what? Nationalities, lineages, and bloodlines. Okay? So he wants to do away with lineage and nationality and just make people into his image through technology, man. Okay? Yes, this man has lost his goddamn mind. You see? Just saying it out loud what the devil is trying to do. Okay? You have to come to the conclusion that this man has lost his goddamn mind. You see? So verse 4 says, he that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them to the Most High what Esau was trying to do. And it should be comical to us as we're looking at this devil try to pull this off. And the Lord is showing us that this nigga don't got it, man. This nigga is nowhere close. Okay? He's nowhere close to being able to pull this off. But he has to attempt it. Okay? He has to make certain, progress, within this attempt before the Lord intervenes. You see, so the Lord is laughing at Esau, all right, and these heathens trying to pull this off, man. This is comical, man. Okay, the Esau think that he can be the Most High, and see, we only have a limited scope of how off Esau is. Like the Most High know fully how off this is, and how far from all right the mark Esau is. Okay. On the carnal level, it looks like something it's like, wow. But then in the spirit, it's laughable what this nigga is doing, man. Okay? This nigga limited with resources, this nigga limited militarily. You see? His wisdom only goes but so far. And we see the wisdom, his wisdom is being, the Lord is taking wisdom from Esau, man. Is there no more wisdom in Timon? Okay? The Lord just has this man devolving back into a goddamn caveman, man. Look how the American politicians talk. Okay, they talk like kindergartners, man. They're devolving right before us. They turning into caveman beasts right before us, man. That base man right before our eyes, man. Okay. It says, verse 5, then shall he speak unto them in his wrath and vex them in his sore displeasure. Okay, and that's going to be this third world war in which he's going to send back Yahushua. All right, verse 5, I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion, which is Yahushua. Okay, because he's going to send Yahushua in the midst of this war to vex all these heathens, man. Yahushua is coming back with the anger of the Father to vex all these heathens, man. Destroy their militaries, take away their authority out the earth. Okay, and establish the throne of David in righteousness. Let's go here. Let's go to the first video. Let's go, which, like we've been saying, in this thing too, because the devil is rolling this thing out. This devil is being called out, man. There's a lot of people, calling this man out, beginning with the prophets, of course. Prophets, have set the tone. Okay. Well, you got everybody trying to talk about the beast system. Okay. Everybody, they don't have,
Hello, my name is Adam.
They don't have the breakdown. Okay, one thing that they on point with is that this technocracy, this system is, all right, a part of the mark of the beast. This system is a beast. This system that they rolled out, this technocracy, is the beast system. Okay, and that mark is going to be the RFID chip. the MOTB, the mark itself is going to be the RFID chip. But this infrastructure is being rolled out. Okay, this is that beast system that was prophesied about in the last days. Okay, so let's go to a little bit of this. This is what happening in the States. Let's play this.
We need to discuss what, in my opinion, is the #1 most important tool within the beast system. Okay, and this tool is already implemented in 49 states, and 100,000 of them are already in operation in our streets. We're talking about flock cameras. Okay, there's already digital IDs. There's talk about centralized banks and digital money replacing physical money. But this next thing right here, which is digital mass surveillance, in my opinion, is the #1 most important tool that we need to discuss. All right, let's hop in this video, watch it, and react to it. Before we do me a quick favor. Hit that like button for the algorithm. Show us exactly what the flock camera system is and how this camera system not only tracks your car and license plate, it also tracks you and your behavior patterns. Okay, and it makes a entire catalog of you, your car, and the things that you do, and puts it into a countrywide database. Okay, let's check this out.
The government has access to more than 83,000 flock cameras around the country through a searchable AI-powered database. According to an investigation, it's already used the system to surveil protesters, profile by race, target immigrants, and threaten reproductive rights. That's terrifying, but some cities are fighting back. Officials claim Flock's purpose is to scan license plates to help solve crime, but they actually do much, much more. The always listening cameras turn the footage into an AI-powered searchable database beyond just vehicle data, accessible without a warrant. And guess what? Most cities and police departments with Flock cameras join a nationwide network. EFF's 2025 investigation exposed how the government has access to at least 83,000 cameras, using them to search by race, track protesters, and locate those who get abortions. It's a system ripe for abuse without the guardrails to prevent it. It's why there are already dozens of cases of cops using it to stalk exes or partners, and it's why the cameras keep getting innocent people in trouble. Not to mention the security flaws, and they aren't small. Researcher Ben Jordan found at least 70 cameras accessible through a commercial search engine. No password required. The latest to reject the cameras is the city of Woodburn, Oregon, joining at least 73 others. Hopefully more will follow because we're living under tyranny, and it's time to wake up.
Flock cameras are just standard street cameras? Think again. These aren't your typical security cameras. They're flock cameras, and the technology behind them is intense. They don't just record footage.
Nope.
They use AI to log your vehicle's make, color, license plate, and even specific dents. The scary part? They build a digital footprint of your daily movements, often without a warrant, and share that data across networks. We're talking about massive, real-time surveillance. Is this the price of security or a major privacy violation?
All right, I'm gonna show you guys this video of a woman who was falsely accused, and the police said that she was the one that was guilty of this charge, and they used flock cameras for their proof. And it actually came out that she wasn't guilty. It was someone else, and that, you know, based off of her own investigation of herself and where she was at, she was able to prove her innocence. Okay, but this just lets you know the type of surveillance that is implemented inside of these flock cameras.
Cameras everywhere in that town. You can't get a breath of fresh air in or out without us knowing.
Chrisana Elzer learned the power of Flock firsthand.
You were in town from 11:52 until 12:09. Exactly. Like I said, nothing gets in or out of the town without us knowing.
When a Colorado police officer...
You hear the pride of this Colorado police officer, the Edomite. He said, nothing gets in and out of this town without us knowing. Okay? Because he's going to show her footages of her vehicle on flock footage because they're accusing her of stealing packages. Okay? But you see the pride, and it's just a Colorado police officer, man. So imagine the pride of the higher ups of Esau, you know, that they are rolling out this technology, man. You know, they pride themselves in being and trying to be all knowing, all seeing, all powerful. Okay, this is this devil's ambition, man. Okay, but you just see a glimpse of it with this Colorado police officer, man. Proud as hell. You know, listen to this guy.
That, you know, based off of her own investigation of herself and where she was at, she was able to prove her innocence. Okay. But this just lets you know the type of surveillance that is implemented inside of these flock cameras.
Cameras everywhere in that town. You can't get a breath of fresh air in or out without us knowing.
Chrisana Elzer learned the power of Flock firsthand.
You were in town from 11:52 until 12:09 exactly. Like I said, nothing gets in or out of the town without us knowing.
When a Colorado police officer showed up at her door holding Flock snapshots of her truck.
And here's when you left at 12:09. That's when you left town.
To get...
No, to stop at Ridge Trail.
Wait a minute.
And take a package. Well, there's no shushing. I don't need to be.
I need to know where this is.
The first thing he pulled out on the body cam is that Flock picture, the clear photograph of your car.
But here's your vehicle in the neighborhood many, many times, apparently casing houses, because you just can't drive through for work or visit other businesses. You can only be casing houses.
It is her. It is 100%. It is locked in. There is zero doubt. I wouldn't have come here unless I was 100% sure. 100%. It is certain. It is on video. You're obviously welcome to go to court.
Chrisana was charged with stealing a package, but it wasn't her. The porch pirate was somebody else.
Multiple times you tried to show him your video evidence. He didn't want to see it.
Even when I called him back, he said, that's not my job.
You looked at the time of a crime. You saw my vehicle entering in the Flock
No,
camera.
no, what I did was, I did an investigation.
You called my wife a liar. You saying this is fact.
I have video evidence. I don't know what you want me to say.
The charges were dropped after Chrisana spent weeks trying to get the police chief to look at her evidence. Time-stamped video from her truck and a neighbor's doorbell camera showing she wasn't at the scene of the crime.
What does it say about where we are that you feel you have to have more cameras than the police have in order to make sure you can prove yourself innocent?
It sounds like it flipped the script to you're guilty until you prove yourself innocent.
Without a Flock camera, that detective would not have been at her door. By his own admission, he pulled out the Flock picture of her car. Do you want to apologize to Chrisana Elzer for what happened to her?
For the police misusing the tools? I don't think that I have to apologize.
He wasn't charged with a crime. He wasn't, I mean, other than being reprimanded for his attitude.
Sure. No, but I would tell you that, like, should I apologize for somebody misusing a tool? I don't think so.
Flock Safety Chief Communications Officer Josh Thomas.
Who's watching the watchers in these cases?
Well, the city council. The city owns the data, so city council would have the appropriate responsibility in that case. Our point of view has always been that it is not Flock's job to police the way police do their work.
Yeah, man. So you see, all right, in this incident, and you see how sure the devil was. He said, I'm 100%. I wouldn't be here if I was 100%. You know, and this technology is flawed. I don't care how advanced Esau is with this technology. The technology we ain't seen, it got flaws in it. Okay, because it's an algorithm of numbers, and this man is not the Most High. He doesn't have the Most High type accuracy. He can never achieve that. Okay, give a damn how much he can be here for another 10 million years working on this AI. He will never achieve the accuracy of the Most High, which is 100%. Okay, well, he comes with this confidence. Oh, it's 100%. I know it's you, and then she has to show through her. She has to build her own case with footage to show that she wasn't there. Okay, so you see the type of society that this devil is trying to bring real time, man. The New World Order will be a shit show. Okay, these movies are this well-functioning, you know, AI utopia, technological utopia, some BS, man. The New World Order, all right, will be a complete shit show from top to bottom. Okay, it will be this man overreaching his capability, man, you know, and trying to make his hype a reality. Okay, and they're trying to catch up, all right, in America to China, but they're gonna have to bring, all right, these crises, man. That's how we know it's gonna be, you know, famines, chaos, civil unrest, you know, because this is what they want to get into right here. Let's play this. Look, clip, a glimpse of China.
Let me show you this video right here. It's talking about a social credit score that China has. And this social credit score is only available simply because they have mass surveillance. So they can see everything you do and say, and they can give you a higher score or a lower score based off of their terms, based off of their moral code, based off of their what they want from their citizens. Okay. That could be whatever they want it to be. Right. So people in China, I've seen videos of people in China say that this doesn't exist. That is just a hoax from Western countries to make China look bad. And to everybody else, that makes it seem like that is the right answer to say when you're living in China. But let's watch this news article about this social credit score system based off of mass surveillance. All right, let's check this out.
The most data possible, the so-called big data. The system will play an important role in rebuilding a moral society.
The state will go over every detail of a person's life with a fine-tooth comb. Their financial situation, spending habits, career, even behavior on social media. Criticizing the government online or displaying outward signs of wealth is a no-no. On the other hand, praising the party or giving blood increases your social credit. Xiao Wen Wang is a model citizen. She lives in Nanjing, a testing ground for social ranking. Married with a child, she has a job in a retirement home, no debts, and she wouldn't dream of jaywalking.
As a good citizen, I respect the rules of the road. If I didn't, I'd lose points on my social credit.
In theory, everything can be taken into account in the social score, even the most innocuous errands like supermarket shopping. When Xiao Wen Wang makes an electronic payment, her purchases tell the state a lot about her. Buying cigarettes would count against her. On the other hand, nappies show she's an attentive mother. Beer could indicate alcoholism. She'd be better off buying water. In this pilot city of 8 million people, there are only 18,000 model citizens. For Xiao Wen Wang, there are perks to be had, such as paying half price for
all public services, even at museums. And the library is free for me, thanks to my score.
A good score brings benefits, but people with low scores lose rights. The cinema names and shames people considered untrustworthy, plastering their details, even their addresses, across big screens.
It's a matter of principle.
So they putting people addresses up there with low social credit score. You know, and then this is another way to get the people to police themselves. Okay. And then just like you get perks and see the credit score in America, you know, what we see with this social credit score, it's another level. It's just another tier of behavior modification that's above the credit score that's already in America. Because when you have a high credit score, you get perks. You know, you're able to get, you know, loans, houses, cars. You know, you're able to get these deals. And, you know, you get it. You pretty much can buy now, pay later. You know, those little perks. Okay, with a credit score in America. Okay, and what does it do? It modifies people's behavior to their decision making is based on having what? Good credit. So social credit score is a whole nother level of behavior modification, because now your social behavior, okay, how you interact with the system, okay, all together determines your score. You see? And this is what they want to bring to America. So this flock camera system, okay, is the beginning of this infrastructure being rolled out so they can get to this point. They want this, okay, type of system in America, man. They want this type of system globally. Okay? So let's play this.
Those people have to be condemned.
Those people aren't honest, so they have to pay the price.
It's only right to pay your debts. You have to blacklist those that don't.
My name is Stephen Headland, Head of Finance at Rillet. Rillet is the AI native ERP, built for high growth.
So let's go from there. Go to what else, all right, China got going on. Okay, and the brother can put or brother can post. Let's get that in Revelation chapter 18 verses 3 through 5. Revelation chapter 18 verses 3 through 5. Yeah, let's play this here.
At the front desk. No clipboard. You walk into a hospital in Shanghai. No queue at the front desk. No clipboard with handwritten forms. No asking you to spell your name 3 times. An AI robot greets you in the lobby, reads your face, pulls your medical record, and tells you exactly which floor to go to. By the time you reach the department, the system has already pre-diagnosed your likely condition based on your history, flagged any abnormal indicators, and placed you in the correct queue. The doctor has your full case summary before you sit down. The consultation takes under 12 minutes. Your prescription is dispensed by a robotic pharmacy in 60 seconds. You are out of the hospital in under an hour. Now picture what happens in America on the same morning. You call your doctor's office. You are told the next available appointment is in 31 days. That is the 2025 average for a new patient appointment in the United States. 31 days, up 19% from just 3 years ago. If you need a cardiologist, expect 32.7 days. A gastroenterologist, 40 days. An OBGYN, 41.8 days. If you go to the emergency room instead, you will wait a median of 163 minutes before anyone sees you. Same planet, same decade. 2 entirely different centuries of healthcare. China's smart hospital transformation did not begin last year. It began in 2014, when the government introduced the National Smart Hospital Initiative and started embedding the concept into public hospital performance evaluations. A decade of sustained investment later, the result is a healthcare system that operates at a fundamentally different speed than anything in the Western world. Here is what that actually looks like inside China's leading hospitals today. AI triage systems route patients before they arrive. Through smartphone apps and wearable devices, patient data, including symptoms, vital signs, medical history, and recent test results, is transmitted to the hospital's AI platform before the patient walks through the door. By the time they arrive, the system has already determined which department they need, estimated their wait position, and notified the relevant clinical team. AI diagnostic assistants then work alongside doctors in real time. Zhongshan Hospital in Shanghai, one of China's top-ranked tertiary hospitals, partnered with Huawei and iFlyTech to build a multimodal smart hospital platform integrating AI imaging analysis, voice-activated clinical assistance, and real-time decision support tools. The doctor speaks. The system transcribes, codes, and files the consultation notes automatically. No administrative burden, no time lost to paperwork. The doctor's full attention stays on the patient. At Ruijin Hospital, also in Shanghai, the AI pathology system processes 3,000 pathological slides per day, a volume that would require an entire department of specialist pathologists working around the clock to match manually. Diagnostic errors in pilot sites fell by 15%. Radiology report turnaround time dropped by 90%. What used to take a radiologist 30 minutes now takes seconds. In January 2025, something shifted the entire trajectory of China's healthcare AI story. DeepSeek, the open-source AI model that had already stunned the global technology industry, was deployed at scale across China's hospital network. Within weeks of its release, hospitals across the country began integrating DeepSeek's large language models into clinical workflows. Not as a trial, not as a pilot program, as the operational system. By March 2025, over 300 hospitals had deployed DeepSeek for clinical diagnostics and medical decision support. By mid-2025, DeepSeek models were embedded in the intranets of more than 260 hospitals across 93.5% of China's provinces, running entirely within hospital firewalls, so patient data never leaves the building. At Chengdu First People's Hospital, DeepSeek powers telemedicine and chronic disease management for patients who cannot travel to the city. At Shanghai's Jinshan branch of the 6th People's Hospital, real-time AI workstations assist physicians with diagnosis at the point of care. At Fudan University's affiliated Huashan Hospital, DeepSeek was stress-tested across multiple platforms before full deployment, the equivalent of clinical trials for an AI system. Those tests were completed in weeks rather than years. Stanford University's independent benchmark evaluation of 9 cutting-edge clinical AI models placed DeepSeek R1 as the top performer. A 66% win rate and a macro average score of 0.75 across derived from licensing exam questions. The AI that beat every other clinical model-dependent testing is now running inside national scale. On March 26, 2026, something happened that almost no Western media outlet covered. China opened its first fully integrated AI hospital. Not a hospital with AI tools. Not a hospital with a smart triage app. A hospital where artificial intelligence is embedded into every stage of the care continuum, from prevention and diagnosis through to treatment, rehabilitation, and long-term health management. It opened in Boao, Hainan Province. On the same day, the 2026 Zhongguancun Forum in Beijing released the first internationally recognized definition of an AI hospital, the standard that the rest of the world will eventually be measured against. China did not just build the hospital. China wrote the definition. The Tsinghua AI Agent Hospital, developed separately as a simulation and research platform, has already processed more than 10,000 clinical cases with a 93.06% accuracy rate on the MEDQ benchmark, the same standardized assessment used to evaluate human medical licensing candidates. It is being used to train the next generation of AI clinical systems before any real-world deployment, eliminating the risk of errors at scale before patients are involved. China's National Health Commission has issued formal guidelines directing AI integration across prevention, diagnosis, rehabilitation, and long-term health management, the full life cycle of care. This is not a corporate initiative or a tech company's announcement. It is national healthcare policy, backed by regulatory force and government investment. Here is what the United States was doing in the same period. The average American patient now waits 31 days for a new doctor appointment. That is the longest recorded average in the country's history, 19% higher than just 3 years ago.
Yeah, so you see, what China, is at with it. And like I said, they're the standard of the world. China is the standard of the world when it comes to this technocracy. Okay, which we know the elites have pumped a lot of money. These major tech companies have, moved to China. Okay, have stationed themselves, have relocated to China. Okay, so China has become this tech hub of the world. Okay, and the Chinese people themselves, these Chinese engineers benefited from it, having all these tech giants, relocated in China. Okay, and like we say, China has this communist government to where their government has a more dictator style authority over the people. So they can implement these things, all right, quickly, all right, and that's why Trump has been given to you Americans to bring in a dictator style type authority, okay, so they can begin to implement these things in America, man. Okay, and if a brother also could get, because we're gonna segue to this next video, but if a brother could get Revelation 19:2 as well. Yeah, but we're gonna get these precepts. Go ahead and load up this this next video. All right, so let's get this off the comment board. So this is the brother. It's the brother Anan GMS all in. All right, Revelation 18:3 says, "For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her." You see, so all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath. Okay, because this wine, this philosophy, is leading to the wrath of the Lord. So that's why it's likened to what the wine of wrath. Okay, so these nations have drunk down this wine, this doctrine it's going to lead to the wrath of the Lord. Okay, because this is complete rebellion and trying to undermine the authority of the Most High. This is not a light thing what these nations are trying to do. Okay, the scriptures say honor the physician. Matter of fact, brother can get that. What is Sirach 38? Let me see. Yep. So let's get Sirach 38 verses 1 through 4. Yep. Sirach chapter 38 verses 1 through 4. Okay, because this is complete rebellion. What these heathens are doing, following Esau, man. You know, so they're drinking the wrath, okay, of fornication. It says, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies, man. Okay, and what the elites have done, they turned America into a consumer country, but then they turned the rest of the world into manufacturing powerhouses. Okay, because everything that Americans consume is manufactured in other countries, you know, and mainly China. Okay, so these nations have become rich, okay, which these governments and the oligarchs of these nations, because the common people are not benefiting, okay, from these deals with the elites. Okay, you know, they get, you know, new infrastructure. You see, they get modernized, you know, so they look at it as an upgrade, but not knowing they're getting a digital prison built around them. You see, and China is already in it. All China needs is the sea hill, and they'll be fully into the New World Order. It'll be a full-blown technocracy. All they need is the implementation, the mandate of the sea hill. But America got to get caught up. Okay, that's why it's finna be bad over here in America. It's finna be evil times in America, man. Okay, but all these nations get rich off the consumer culture of America, you know. So the world has been the manufacturers and America has been the consumers. You see, so you deal with, you know, you get on board with America with this new world order. You get on board with the elites. Okay, in this new world order, well, you get to participate in this global market, and these governments and these oligarchs of these different nations get to enrich themselves, man. Okay, so you get Revelation 18:4 says, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people. You see, and this is us going in those chariots, man. You see, because as the Lord brings their wrath for this rebellion, okay, he's going to deliver an elect, okay, of Israel, a remnant. You see, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues. And their last plagues is what? The missiles. Okay. It says in verse 5, for her sin, all right, have reached unto heaven. The Most High have remembered her iniquities. You see, the Most High have remembered her iniquities. You see that? So you come here and get Revelation 19:2. So the Most High have remembered her iniquities, man. You see, so all the wickedness of America, of Esau, okay, and these heathens that have collaborated with this devil, well, the Lord got a tab on it, you know. And see, the Lord is 100% accurate. Okay, he doesn't need flock cameras. No, he has the angels, and then he's all knowing within himself. Okay, so when he sends for a judgment, it's going to be 100% accurate. It's going to land on exactly who it's supposed to land on. Okay, Revelation 19:2 says, for true is your brother GMS, all in 144, the brother Anah. Revelation 19:2, for true and righteous are his judgment, for he have judged the great whore which did corrupt the earth with her fornication, and have avenged the blood of his servants at her hand. Okay, so America is guilty of corrupting the earth with her fornication, man, which is this wicked doctrine of rebellion. Okay, getting these nations to worship technologies and worship, you know, themselves as God, and you know, to cross out the Most High, to attempt to cross out the Most High, you know, through technology. You see, to think that there's a path to immortality, through technology and witchcraft. You see, that's the fornication of this whore that she's pushed out through the earth. Okay, and there's a punishment for that, man. Okay, it said, for he, Yahweh Shai, have judged the whore. So Yahweh Shai is coming to judge this whore, man. Okay, in his return. Now, go on here real quick, showing you that this is rebellion, because all this AI, robotics, and nah, man. When you go into it, what does the scripture say? This the brother GMS all in, Sirach 30:1. It says, honor physician with the honor due unto him for the uses which ye may have of him, for the Lord created him. Okay, so the Lord created the physician, man, not no goddamn robots. Okay, and analytics and all. No, the Lord created the physician. You see, honor the physician. Okay, and as you keep on, verse 2 said, for the Most High cometh healing, and he shall for of the Most High cometh healing, and he shall receive honor of the King. Okay, because healing comes from the Most High, man. And see, there's one thing too, they give all this reverence to technology. You know, is 98% accurate, and the robots this fast, they can do this. No reverence to a higher power when it comes to healing. No, healing comes from Yahweh Bashim Shai. Okay, because with all this technology, people are more obese than ever, and they make it seem as if they just made leaps and bounds because this shit fast. But niggas' health is trash. The health of the world is trash. Okay, but just because you can see an AI robot in 18 seconds, that doesn't mean that it's better. Okay, because they just kept talking about the speed, but the overall health of the earth is trash. Nigga, you're destroying the earth. Okay, this nigga is destroying the earth, but then send you to a goddamn robot, you know, and that's an advancement. Okay, nah, man, this is a shit show, man. This man New World Order is an absolute shit show, man. Nothing to look forward to, man. Extremely overhyped. Okay, so when you keep reading, it says the skill of the physician. Sirach 30:3, it said the skill of the physician shall lift up his head, and the sight of great men. I said, in the sight of great men, he shall be in admiration, man. Yeah, because physician, that's a very honorable, all right, profession, you know, and that's what the earth is going to get back to, man, under the kingdom, because we're not going to need physicians, but these heathens, they're going to go back, all right, to physicians, man, outside of Esau, who's going to be done away with, and that's why scripture called Esau what? A physician of no value. A brother can get that. I think that Job 13:8. Okay, Sirach 13. Sirach 38:4. The Lord have created medicines out of the earth. Okay, and he that is wise would not abhor them, which means to avoid them. Okay, because even you go into the earth, man. The earth has everything that we need. Because really, this whole hospital industry, okay, this whole peaceutical industry is a fraud, man. Because if the earth was all right managed how it was supposed to be managed, it would be medicine every time you eat. Your body would be taking medicine every time you eat. Okay, because all the food will have the appropriate nutrients, okay, and benefits, and then your herbs will give forth their strength. You will have the herbs. Okay, that will aid your body in maintaining itself, man. Okay, you won't need no goddamn AI robots and OBGYNs, whatever, all these different surgeons. You wouldn't need all that shit, man. If the earth was maintained like it was supposed to be, man. Okay, the earth will give forth medicine freely. It will give forth healing freely through, all right, the gift of Yahweh Bashim Shai. Okay, let's see. Yeah, let's get this. This is the brother you call Hope for 144, Job 13:4. It says, but ye are forgers of lies. Ye are all physicians of no value. Okay, speaking to Esau, man, he's a physician of no value, man. Okay, and he got these nations hyped up as if he's on to something, man. Nah, man. Okay. And let's segue here real quick. So this is dealing with, all right, the update, what's going on. So you have, they done went back and forth, you know. I think right now it's either a 2 for 2. You know, Iran has struck twice, America struck twice, you know, or either 3 for 3, you know, because when these skirmishes first start out, you know, it's a back and forth, and then eventually real reports start coming out, and you're able to kind of see what's really happened, you know, damage assessment. So just going as of late, you know, started off with a 1 for 1. Now they get a 2 for 2, possibly a 3 for 3. So they're going back and forth right now. Okay. But Iran made a statement to the EU. They addressed the EU directly. Okay. Because what's happening as this war continues, other nations are going to have to get directly involved, man. Okay. Not saying it's going to be, you know, this week, this month. Okay. But the narrative is set up within this narrative of this war is set up to drag in more nations, man. And that's how you eventually get to a world's war, by other nations becoming involved. Okay. Because right now the main, all right, opponents is America and Iran with the small hats on the side. Okay. But eventually it's going to pull in more nations. These nations that's in the background helping, the Lord going to draw them to the forefront. Okay. But you had Iran make a statement towards the EU nation that's been helping in the back. Okay. By allowing America to use, you know, their countries, okay, for military operations. So let's play this.
After striking American military bases in the Gulf, Iran is now issuing a warning to Europe. Tehran says Israel during the war cannot evade responsibility and will have to face the consequences of their actions. Foreign Ministry spokesman Ismail Baghai said European governments that provided military bases, airspace, or logistical support during the conflict. Baghai argued that recent remarks by Mark Rutte amounted to an admission that European countries were not neutral during the conflict. According to Baghai, any country that allowed its territory, military bases, airspace, or infrastructure to be used by U.S. and Israeli forces had become a participant in the war and therefore shares responsibility for its consequences. Although Baghai did not explicitly threaten military retaliation against Europe, his comments represent one of Tehran's strongest warnings yet toward NATO members beyond the United States.
Stop watching this ad. Go to Wix and grab your domain name before someone else does.
Baghai also launched a personal attack on NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. He accused Rutte of repeatedly defending the military campaign against Iran and mocked what he described as the NATO chief's praise for U.S. President Donald Trump. Baghai claimed Rutte's public support for Washington reflected servility rather than leadership, arguing that praising Trump would neither restore credibility nor erase Europe's role in the conflict. The unusually harsh language reflects growing anger inside Tehran following recent U.S. military operations and the reimposition of sanctions on Iranian oil exports. The remark came after Rutte described American renewed attacks as necessary.
I think it was absolutely necessary because when you have a ceasefire and Iran is basically violating the ceasefire, we've seen what happened yesterday with ships being attacked. I think it is totally crucial that the US forcefully reacts. I also expect allies today to discuss Iran. I expect allies today to reconfirm that Iran.
Now, this is this the NATO summit, okay, in Ankara, which is Turkey, which Turkey is going to play a major part. All right, they got their role to play within this Third World War. All right, and we know Turkey, okay, is going to flip, because Turkey been playing both sides. All right, but we know Turkey is going to flip and fully commit to Russia and Iran. Okay, because you have to understand Turkey and Iran have a common enemy, which is the Kurds. Okay, and America CIA, has been trying to arm the Kurds to do a ground invasion in Iran, these Iraqi Kurdish troops. Okay, and Turkey has been giving Iran, intelligence about where these Kurdish troops are at, and Iran been striking, these Kurds in Iraq, so Turkey and Iran is already, working. They already have operations. They already have an intelligence relationship, a military intelligence relationship. Okay. So what we're seeing now with Ankara, the fact that they're having this NATO summit in Ankara, okay, shows us what, man, that Turkey is going to be activated soon, man. Okay, and these NATO nations, which NATO, the weakest water, okay, is a paper tiger. These EU nations, they weak as water, they can't do nothing. The strength of NATO is America. Okay, is why scriptures speak about how they should be partly strong, partly weak. Okay, because the strength of the iron of NATO is mainly America. Okay, so these EU nations, they're speaking out now against Iran. But guess what? Ukraine is losing its war to Russia, and now it's more pressure on Russia to go into Europe. Okay, now you have Iran speaking against Europe, man. So the Lord got this thing playing out to where it's going to be a brawl for it all, man. Okay, these nations finna hit. More nations are going to get involved in this conflict. Okay, the EU tried to sit this one out. Because see, these EU nations, they played a part in helping with Desert Storm. They helped with the Iraq invasion. They helped with the Afghanistan invasion. They helped with Libya. They helped with Syria. But see, you get to Iran, and they see Iran ain't sweet. Now the EU just trying to play the back. But nah, Iran like, nigga, y'all gonna get involved. Y'all letting these niggas use y'all bases. Okay, y'all letting these use our airspace, to stage military equipment, nigga, you in the war. Okay, basically what Iran's saying, nah, nigga, you in the war. Okay, so we're gonna see this thing continue to scale out. It's gonna go from, a two-party conflict of America and Iran, and then it's already went regional with these GCC nations, okay, being on the target list, and then it's going to eventually go global, man. Okay, so let's play a little bit more of this.
Should never ever get its hand on a nuclear capability, and secondly, that the principle of the freedom of navigation, so the Strait of Hormuz, completely opening up again, is a sine qua non, is crucial for all 32 allies. We know that there is disappointment on the American side when it comes to Iran, and it has to do with isolated cases. At the same time, we see up to 5,000 sorties from European bases. It's implementing all the bilateral basing agreements. It is again, Europe as one big platform of power projection for the United States. And that's happening. And when it comes to the money and the spending, Europe now equalizing with the United States. It is this president who encouraged us to do this very forcefully. Of course, there is also the Russian threat, which forces us to do this on the European side of NATO. And I think this is a big win for the American president.
The Iranian Foreign Ministry also accused Washington of violating the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding, the agreement signed in June that temporarily halted fighting and launched a 60-day negotiation process towards a permanent settlement. According to Tehran, the United States broke the agreement by reimposing sanctions on Iranian oil exports and launching fresh military strikes inside Iranian territory. Until now, Iran's retaliation has focused primarily on American military assets, but Tehran is now making clear that, in its view, countries that helped Washington and Israel during the conflict should not expect to remain outside the crisis.
Is the ceasefire done? Is the MOU dead?
It's a very interesting question. To me, I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people. And they're vicious, violent people. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they'd use it. As far as I'm concerned, it's over.
The war of words.
Yeah, so, you see Trump, he's at that meeting in Ankara. He got around them other Edomites and wanted to play tough. Because, see, Trump had it, and then the timing of it, during the time of the funeral of Soleimani Khamenei, okay, the former Ayatollah, okay, the former supreme leader that was assassinated at the beginning of this war, okay, so they're doing it during the funeral, and then they have these Ankara meetings, so the Iranian population is pissed. They just want blood. They want all out war, okay. They want America to pay dearly. They want the small heads to pay dearly. So you got, the Iranian population revved up, and you best believe certain leadership is revved up. Okay, and then, like I say, Trump, because he would have went into this meeting, this NATO summit, looking very weak, because this MOE, this MOU, memorandum of understanding, it really was a surrender by America, because all the terms favored, Iran. So it really was a surrender. All right. America signed the surrender. All right. And Trump would have went into Ankara looking real weak, So these attacks is all for this posture of strength they don't got. Okay. So he can go around these other Edomites, okay, with this projection of power, man. You see? But it just shows you that the Lord got all these nations in the escalation trap, all right, to fulfill, all right, the Lord's will, okay? And ultimately it's going to be for this war to get out of control, all right, and turn America like we went to before, turn America to a desert. You see? So, let's get that in, let's get that Proverbs 21:1. Okay, and let's get that in Revelation 11 and 14 and 15, Bible shot. Proverbs 21:1. All right, and everything going exactly according to plan. The fact that they had the NATO meeting, in Tehran, not Tehran, in Ankara, which is the capital of Turkey. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, the fact that they had that in Turkey shows you that prophecy is activated, man. Okay. And there's nothing that these devils can do to get out of it, man. So, yeah, let's get this. There's a book of Proverbs, chapter 21:1. It's from the brother Yashima, tribe of Judah, and Bible Shala said, it said the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, So all these rulers, their minds are in the hand of the Lord, okay? And they're just chess pieces on the Lord's board to move, okay, according to his will, according to his prophecy, okay? It says the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. So it's the Lord that's in the driver's seat. It's Yahweh Bashim Al-Shah that's in the driver's seat of all prophecy, man. For the devil to push this technocracy and for these nations okay, to continue on this path of war. Okay, there's no peace deals to be had. Okay, only war. You see? So let's go here. All right, to if a brother could get that Revelation, the 15th verse as well. Revelation 11 and 15. So this is the brother you call hopeful, elect. Revelation, yeah, it's like the brother you call hopeful 144. Revelation 11 and 14 said the second woe was past, and behold, the third woe coming quickly. All right, so the Second World War has already passed. All right, the only thing left when it comes to war, because this Third World War will be the last World War. Okay, this will be the war to end all wars, man. Okay, because after that you have the kingdom of Yahushua. You see, there's going to be no wars in the kingdom of Yahushua. Just like during the time of King Solomon, there was no war in the earth. Okay, well, there's going to be a permanent, okay, standard in the earth of no. It's going to be an earth of no wars. You see, things are going to be judged before it gets into a conflict, and these nations not going to have the ability. Ain't going to be no fighter jets in the kingdom, tanks. Ain't going to be no standing militaries. That's not going to be in the kingdom. Okay, so they're not even going to have the capability to wage war. Okay, there's going to be too much work in maintaining the earth. That's going to be the war. Then you're going to go to war, all right, with maintaining the earth. You see, ain't going to be, you see, this constant conflict and summits and meetings about, war count. No, ain't going to be none of that, man. Okay. The earth is going to be turned back to paradise, and these heathens are going to maintain paradise through their labor. Our wisdom and the labor of the heathens is going to maintain paradise forever, man. Okay? Ain't nobody going to war after this, man. All right? So it says on verse 15, and it says, and the seventh angel sounded, and there was a great voice in the heaven saying, the kingdoms, okay, of this world, all right? Let me see. Yeah, the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his anointed, and they shall reign forever and ever, man. Okay? So, yeah, that's the point. Just wanted to get into that, because we know what everything leads to, and that's Yahushua, okay, and the elect reigning in the earth forever. You see? And establishing righteousness and peace in the earth forever, man. Because what this guy's trying to do in this new world order is an absolute shit. So, okay, it's going to be catastrophic, what this man is trying to do. So, Lord willing, you brothers and you few sisters are edified once again. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushua, Bahashim, Makakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers, and peace and blessing and salutation to the hopeful. Shalom.